Okay, I hope you guys could hear me clearly now. This is the second part of Blender, which I started and didn't touch again until now. Yeah, there's part two here, but I still need to do part one. Don't get distracted. I think I was at the end.
You know you need the right tools to make. With Shopify, you get...
This is Blender, open source 3D.
You know what? Give me a minute. I shall find where I was. Okay. Oops. Okay, good. Interesting. I just hope all these settings are right. Like, seriously, how do you hide this? I don't need that being there like that. Okay. Oops. No, let go. Of course. Let me see my first video. The first video where I thought people could hear me, but actually you can hear me, just not very well. You had to put your ears really close to hear me. You should try speaking louder, but
It once. As I said, it's a little awkward. Blender's the way it handles with the
1626. Oh, I was actually finding this really hard. should be better than putting it on my bed sheet. Okay, 1626.
We need to learn another tool, which is scale. So we could go to the scale tool there, and then we get this familiar.
Oh, I haven't caught up. I hope I don't have to do this again. Okay. To refresh my memory, I think I should do this again. I've forgotten most things. Sure, let's try again. Let's open a new file. General. Don't save as there's no changes. Okay, from the beginning we go. People are doing so many things with this. Let me give myself a little motivation by reading through the comments. Alright, I also got a mouse. Can't forget that. He did say it was important. Oh, it make things easier. I'm just wondering, I saw people say you should start making what you want to make, and I mostly want to make characters. So is it wise starting with... I'm not very good at, again, motivation. But let us see. This character verb, I'm not sure if this is beginner. I'll open this up in a new tab and we could check it out later. Which one seems more enticing to me? Okay. From a small village in India 2 years ago, I stumbled upon your donut tutorial and started learning 3D on my laptop. That I got from my chief minister of my state as a reward for performing well in the state exams. And now I'm a 3D artist in an American company for the last 9 months, where I design character-based products for 3D printing. Thank you so much, Andrew. Keep doing the great work. Wow. Yeah. I'd actually like to check out what we do. Years ago, I stumbled upon Andrew's donut tutorial and I started learning, and now I stumbled on another donut tutorial and I'm still learning. Aren't we all? I've been interested in Blender for a while. Now I'm just getting distracted by more and more videos. I'm just thinking, should I watch this navigation and shortcut first. I hated my old job in marketing, and then I did the last donut tutorial somewhere around 2022. Next week I'm starting my new job as a 3D artist. Gave my life a completely new, meaningful and fun direction. Thanks a billion, Andrew. Keep on making these videos. Kudos to you. I'm already a professional 3D artist, but we must never skip a donut tutorial from Andrew. And there's more. Ooh. I read comments about how many people only taught themselves Blender through YouTube and now have a job. 2 years ago, I would never have thought how far this decision would take me. In 2 days, I start a new job as a 3D designer and visualizer in a great company. I'm so happy that I took this path. Thank you, Blender Guru, for helping so many people on their way. You are a great inspiration, motivation, and enrichment for YouTube in this great 3D community. Okay. Okay, those don't. Oh wow, someone wants to do this, but we're for absolute beginners. And it looks like people too. So many choices. Let me watch the beginning of each of them and then I can make that choices. There's this one too. But that might not be for the new one. Yeah, I should look at the date. How do people use their computer? Mine keeps overheating or making sounds. Okie dokie. Let's just stick to this one. Donuts it is. Yeah, my notes. Probably should have read that. Is it this one? Right. Okay.
This is Blender, open source 3D software that can be used to make
I don't know how loud or quiet this is for you guys. It's pretty loud for me.
animations, visual effects, game assets, or practically anything 3D. And best of all, it's 100% free and it always will be. If you've never used it before but you want to learn it, well, then you're in the right place. This is a tutorial for complete beginners. I've been using Blender for 20 years, so I'm going to show you how to use all of its core features. And by the end, you'll finish with not only the confidence to start your own projects, but with your very own donut animation. And I know this looks complex, but I promise you it's achievable for a complete beginner. And I say that with confidence because many already have.
I remember getting stuck on how to delete. Did I add that in? That's just a me problem.
This is actually the 4th version of this tutorial. I made the first donut tutorial back in 2016, and I've been remaking it every few years to keep up with Blender's development. In that time, millions of people, just like yourself, have gone from having never used 3D to successfully making their own donuts. One artist even snuck his into a little film called Everything Everywhere All at Once. Very clever. So if you're ready to take your first steps in 3D, hit the subscribe button and let's begin. First, go to blender.org/download or just click the link in the description. Then, obviously, you got to hit the big download button. Once downloaded on Windows, double click it and then just go through the install steps. But if you're on a Mac, just drag it into the applications folder. Then just find the Blender shortcut and open it. Then once it's open, just click anywhere off the splash screen to close it, and welcome to the wonderful world of 3D. First tip, do not get overwhelmed. If you go clicking around, you might find lots of buttons and some of them with very scary names, and it can all get very overwhelming very quickly. The thing you need to know is Blender can do a lot of things, which means it has a lot of tools, but you don't need to know every tool in order to do what you want to do. If you're familiar with the 80-20 rule, there's really only 20% of Blender's features that you end up using 80% of the time. And that's what I'm planning to teach you in this tutorial series. So stay with me and you should be fine. We'll start making the donut in the next video. In this one, we're just going to look at the interface and I'm going to show you some of the basic navigation. So for starters, this view, this window right here is your 3D viewport, and it's where you'll spend probably 90% of your time because it is the 3D world. So you can see that we have 3 objects here. We've got a camera, we've got a cube, and we've got a lamp. And when we click on it, you can see it's selected because it has the yellow outline. So let's delete the default cube, of course, and replace it with something else.
Alright, I've actually forgotten how to delete the cube. Oops, I just moved it. I'll have to look that up again. Can't believe I forgot. I didn't write it down on the notes, did I? Okay. Some mesh element selected and you press X. Okay. And press X. Okay. X. And delete. Okay, what next? Blenderman.
So we could do that by going up to the Add menu up here, or by remembering the hotkey, which is Shift A. So Shift A.
Shift A hotkey to add. For add. To add. Okay, let's try it. Shift A. Alright, it hasn't said what to add yet. Oops.
A for add. So usually the one you're looking for is underneath mesh. So these are called your primitives, and it's what you use to start something when you're looking to make an object. Like if you're going to make a chair, you might start with a cylinder as the chair leg and then build out from there. But the one I'm sure you're all very curious, you want to click it, it's the monkey. So let's just click the monkey. Why does Blender have a monkey? Well, fun fact, every 3D software has its own little random complex object because it's useful to test things like shaders or complexities of scenes. So 3ds Max has the Utah teapot, Houdini has the toy, and I think pig's head. Blender has the monkey, and it's actually called the Suzanne monkey head, which you can see in the top left there, named after the orangutan from the film Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back. Random piece of trivia. So let's get a better look at it. And to that we need to orbit, which you can do by on your mouse there, your scroll wheel, that is called your middle mouse button. If you push that in and then drag around, that is now orbiting.
Okay, good thing I got a mouse now. Okay, control A. I remembered. Might not seem like a big deal, but I'm bad at remembering. Oops, zoom out. Accidentally scrolled in. Okie dokie.
Now, for my laptop users, you've just panicked because you realize you don't have a mouse. How are you going to orbit around? First of all, probably a good idea to get a mouse for 3D work. It will come in handy. But in a pinch, you can get by without it just by up here in the top right-hand corner, this little gray circle, anywhere in the gray section. If you just left-click, drag on that, that will do the exact same thing. Or if you want, you can go to Edit Preferences, and then underneath Input, there's Emulate 3-button mouse. And that means that if you hold down Alt and then left-click drag, that will do the exact same thing. Also, whilst you are in user preferences, you might want to go to interface and you've got resolution scale. If you're on a 4K monitor, you might find that your menus and buttons are really small and you kind of have to like squint in to see it. So personally, I like to keep my 4K monitor around about 1.5. Since this is a tutorial, I'll make it nice and big so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so that's orbiting around with the middle mouse button. If we want to zoom in, we can do that just by scrolling in and out. We could also do it by going up to the magnifying glass tool there and then just left click dragging and then moving the mouse back and forth. That does the same thing. Or you could hold down Control and then middle mouse button, and that will do a smooth zoom as well. Okay, so one thing you might notice looking at this is
Should I just try a Vi, even though I have a mouse? Why not? I do it with my mouse. And zoom. In and out. Interesting. Okay, what next?
that it's not very pretty, right? It's just kind of got this flat, bland,
How dare you insult Suzanne?
gray lighting over everything. And that's because this state right now is called viewport shading. And it's kind of a lightweight, optimized way to view the scene just as you're building it. But if you want to create a final pretty image, that's called rendering. And you can actually switch into rendered mode by going up here into the top right-hand corner. You can see we're currently in the viewport shading mode. If we go 2 across, you should see rendered view mode. So if we click that, your
I do not remember this. And again, I do not remember a lot of things. Let me just come in and look at Suzanne's pretty face. Okay. And 2. Oops. I clicked it more than one time. Everyone knows you shouldn't do that. If something doesn't open, don't click it again and again. One time, like it might be a mistake, you know. The second time you click it, it's to confirm that your laptop is being slow.
or computer might stall for a quick second whilst it loads it in, but you can see it's now different.
Yeah, I probably should have seen that part.
We have directional light. We have shadow cast across the monkey. So it's now currently being lit by this lamp up here. So if I wanted to, zoom in on that lamp there and just kind of like move it around, you can see it's kind of hard to focus on. Like it's always exactly not in the right view. And that's because we are centered on our monkey right now. We need to change the focus. We need to pan to something else. So we could do that one of two ways. One, if you're on a laptop, you could use the little move tool there. That will do that. Or everyone else, shift, middle mouse click, drag, that will do the same thing. So middle mouse.
Okay. Let's zoom out. Shift, middle mouse click and drag. Shift, middle mouse click and drag. Okay. And drag. Let's get rid of that. What next?
Is for orbiting, shift middle mouse is for pan to change your view to something else. Okay, so I want to move my light because it's too moody. I want to be able to see the monkey's face there. So to move an object, you could do it one of two ways. One, you could go over to the left-hand corner here and you've got the move tool. When you click that, you can see that the selected object, the lamp, has this gizmo, it's called, with these axes on it. And if I just clicked and dragged on any of those arrows there, you can see I can move it along any of those axes. I could also just click on that white circle there, and that will just freehand drag it depending on my view. But it's kind of tedious every time you want to.
Can see it. I don't mind the tedious one, but that's just because I'm a beginner. And sure, I'll prefer the more complex one when I'm more complex.
Move something, you have to like go to that tool and then find the arrows and yada yada. So actually most people in Blender prefer to use the hotkeys. So we just keep it in the default selection state here, and instead remember the hotkey, which is G for grab. Now I've just tapped the key and you'll notice as I move my cursor that
Not too bad. G for grab. Write that down. Now let's give it a spin. Couldn't really find anything that rhymed much. G. Shift G. What was it? Does this have to be selected? G. Let's see what he did again.
arrows and yada yada. So actually most people in Blender prefer to use the hotkeys. So we just keep it in the default selection state here, and instead remember the hotkey, which is G for grab.
See, this thing has to be lighting up. Oh, there we go. On G. Ooh, you spin me right round, baby, right round. Oops. G again. Let's see your face. Oh. This is a bit hard to navigate. If you bring it forward, goes down. Just leave it there. So I guess it's due to perspective. If I look at it from another way, and then G. So yep, doesn't go down as much. Okay.
Now I've just tapped the key, and you'll notice as I move my cursor that it's now attached to my cursor. My cursor isn't even actually close to it. In fact, my cursor could be on the other side of the screen and I could tap G and it will move it. And at first this is kind of awkward. You're like, why is it working this way? But once you get used to it, you realize it's actually handy because you don't have to spend all this time like navigating your cursor to something just so that you can move it. Your cursor could be over here and then just tap it and you're moving it. So whilst
G. Yeah. Jeez, why isn't this selecting? No, I did not mean to select you. Do I have to press that little thing in the middle? See if I press G again. It's the same. Ah, I see. Actually, no, I don't see. I pressed that. Still didn't make a difference.
in this move state, if you want to cancel a movement, you could do it one of two ways. You could just hit escape, or you could right click. Then if you want to confirm a movement, like
Hit escape or right click. Yeah, I didn't understand. What is it that I clicked that affected the light? Oh yeah, now I see. My bad. It was so obvious. I mean, I kind of saw it. G, right click. G, escape. Okay. Confirm movement, left click. Might as well get that done and over with. Use the notes effectively. Key. Left click. G. Left click. I think it's the same with the notepad too. Oh, you know what I mean? The scrolling mouse. Forgot how you say it. Anyway. Right click. Left click, I mean. And it worked. Axis G and the X, Y or Z diagonal. S for scale. Let's just
say I want to move my lamp here and I like the movement, I could just do a single left click. So again, if I want to cancel something, just right click. If I want to confirm the movement, left click. But let's say I wanted to move it along an axis, like, I like these arrows here and I want to be able to move it on just a specific axis. Well, I can do that whilst I'm in that grab state as well. So after I've hit the G key to grab it, I can then tap the letter of the axis that I want to move it on. So if you don't know, in the real world and in the 3D software, there are 3 axes because there's 3 dimensions. There's the X axis, which I can move it by hitting the X key, the Y axis to move it back and forth along the Y axis with the Y key, or the Z axis to move it up and down on the Z axis. So you can remember those.
I was going to say, what about this or that? But I just realised that pretty much covers all of them. Or all that I could think of. Diagonal would also cover, like, from up to down. So, yeah.
Those letters, the X, Y, and Z. Or the method that I actually prefer to use is whilst you're in that G state, if you just hold down the middle mouse button and then pull out, you can see you get this like gray line that pulls out from the center. And then if you just drag out and move around, it will snap it to the nearest axes, which again is
I'm tired.
a line that pulls out as the X, Y, and Z. Or the method that I actually prefer to use is
Okay, but of course, G, X, Y, and Z. Confirm, right, left click.
whilst you're in that G state, if you just hold down the middle mouse button and then pull out, you can see you get this like
Middle mouse button. Hold down middle mouse button. For all axes and grey line. Okay. I am not very entertaining, am I? Well, at least my voice may put some of you to sleep. You know, if you guys are actually hearing this, I should probably speak louder. It is what it is. Let's bring it up again. Anna. I see. And let's right click it. Actually right click it this time to cancel. Did I put that?
gray line that pulls out from the center. And then if you just drag out and move around, it will snap it to the nearest axes, which again is maybe an odd way to work, but it's actually really handy because it means you don't have to think of the letter and locate it on your keyboard. I can just tap G to move it and then middle mouse drag out and then just find that exact axis that I'm looking for. And so it's very fast to just quickly move the lamp exactly where I want it. By the way, if you're finding it hard to remember all of the keyboard shortcuts that I've mentioned, I've actually put together a PDF, a cheat sheet of Blender's most common hotkeys, and you can download that by clicking the link in the description, so you could print it out or you could just have it on a separate monitor while you work. Also, if you are from another 3D software package, you might notice that Blender's hotkeys are different than what you are used to. So if you actually go to Preferences, just for those people that are from other softwares, if you change the key map to industry compatible, you'll find that these shortcuts are probably more in line with what you remember from other software. I'll also put a link to a cheat sheet that is just for the industry compatible key maps that somebody else put together. I've got nothing to do with it, but I'll put that link there so you can check it out as well. For the rest of this tutorial series, I'm going to use Blender's.
Okay, I should download the hotkey document for this Blender version and print it out. Probably be easier. Or I could just, not waste ink and handwrite these. It's not like they take too much effort. What to do? I'll probably just print them out. Deceit. Not bad. I'll just leave that there. It's a good name, Deceit.
hotkeys, just keep that in mind. Now let's say, as I am moving around here, I'm like, oh, this looks really good. I've got some nice Rembrandt lighting across the monkey's face. I want to take a photo. I want to take a nice pretty image of this and post it on socials for clout, right? Well, I could take a screenshot of it, but that would be silly because it's got all these lines all over. It's all noisy, right? We don't like it. The way you take a photo, a pretty image in Blender, is to do a render. So you could do that one of two ways, by going up to render and hitting render image, or remembering
Photo. Render image, or
bring the hotkey, which says next to it F12.
This productivity tool is controversial. People are taking sides. It uses AI to create your perfect.
So when you do
or F1. I think that's what he said.
by going up to render and hitting render image, or remembering the hotkey, which says next to it F12. So when you do that, a little window will pop up. It will use your CPU or GPU, depending on which renderer you've got.
I actually don't know. But let's just make sure this is a pretty image. Select. Can't believe it was so hard to figure out. And left click. Now better. So we could go to render and render images, or we click. Wait a minute, do I type out 12? So do I hold it, then do 1, 2? I am not very good at the computers. I am not gonna lie. Let's do some more research. Oh, there's keys. How did I not see those? Guess they're very small. Okay. No shift, just F12, right? Okay, shift F12.
A photo, a pretty image in Blender, is to do a render. So you could do that one of two ways, by going up to render and hitting render image, or remembering the hotkey, which says next to it F12. So when you do that,
I don't understand, why isn't it working for me? Shift F12, Control F12. I do escape F12. Okay. Let's do that again. Oh, shift. Oh. Okay. So F and then F12. Oh, this is from my camera's side. do I need to press the FN2 or is once enough? I mean, do I need to hold it? Anyway, let's continue.
A little window will pop up.
Alright, this is my first one. They look almost the same.
It will use your CPU or GPU, depending on which renderer you've got active, and it will render out a pretty image. And from here, you could go image and then save as, and they'll save it as a PNG or whatever, wherever you want to save it. But you might notice looking at this that this is actually a different view than what we have here, right? So here I've got a nice view of the monkey's face, but up there is a different view. And the reason for that is when you do a render, it's not rendering from the view that you're looking at currently. It's always going to render from the point of view of the camera. So this is our camera over here, and it's looking from this angle. And we can actually look through the camera by just clicking the little camera icon there, or by remembering the hotkey, which is number pad 0.
To view from camera POV, click camera icon or number pad 0. About the same thing. Okay, click on this or number pad 0. Oh, that is what he said, right? Navigating the computer, laptop, and Blender.
Look through the camera by just clicking the little camera icon there, or by remembering the hotkey, which is number pad 0.
Number pad 0. Let's look it up again. Number. Oh, are they the numbers by the side? Oh yes, it is. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, we're learning something new. It's these ones to the right of the keyboard. The numbers are usually here. Oh, I mean, I guess it would make sense that not all keyboards have them. Like, why are they there?
So how do we move the camera? Well, Blender's a little awkward, maybe a little different to other software packages, but you're supposed to like hit G to move it and then like middle mouse to zoom in and out. And then if you want to like move it along an axis, I guess G and then X. You could do that, but actually what a lot of users prefer, especially those from other software packages, is if you've got your camera selected, which by the way, I haven't mentioned this, but up here, this is your outliner. It's kind of an inventory of every item that you've got in your scene. Okay, so with the camera there selected, if I hit N, N is to bring up the properties, N for prop. Properties for whatever reason, and then go to view. There's a little box there that just says lock to camera.
View. Lock to camera.
To view. So now with that active, if I just use the camera to view. So now
I am actually so sleepy and tired. I must endure. Camera. N. What's wrong this time?
is if you've got your camera selected, which by the way, I haven't mentioned this, but up here, this is your outliner. It's kind of an inventory of every item that you've got in your scene. Okay, so with the camera there selected, if I hit N, N is to bring up the.
It's not working for me. Glad to see I didn't do anything wrong. Never mind. View, then camera to view. Tick.
The properties, N for properties for whatever reason, and then go to view. There's a little box there that just says lock to camera to view. So now with that active, if I just use the same keyboard shortcuts as before, middle mouse button to orbit around.
Do I press N again? Yeah. See. Same middle mouse button.
Shift middle mouse to drag it. You can see that the camera is moving with it. So essentially the view I can set.
And shift middle mouse to drag. Or just hold the middle one.
Set it up exactly as I want, then hit N again, and then I can disable that. And then now as I pull out, you can see that the camera will stay exactly where it was. And I could do now with that active, if I just use the same keyboard shortcuts as before, middle mouse button to orbit around, shift middle mouse to drag it, you can see that the camera is moving with it. So essentially the view, I can set it up exactly as I want, then hit N again, and then I can disable that. And then now as I pull out, you can see that the camera.
Press N again. one tick. Lock to view camera. One thing I can do. And it disables it. Okay. That's good for that from that view. Let's see a little more here. Okay. And okay. Oops.
Will stay exactly where it was, and I could do a lovely, pretty render. But this is
Okay, let's see. F12? No, you have to press the FN. Was it facing here? I thought it was facing more from the front. Oh, I guess I did go back and change it. Hope I didn't press cancel. Less from the side. Okay.
is too simple. If we post this on the internet, people are bound to make fun of us. Imagine that. Well, we could give it some color, right? So with our monkey head selected, we can go over to here to the properties. So this properties section is where you might spend the other, I don't know, another 8.
Don't worry, Suzanne, you're beautiful just the way you are.
5 to 8%, I don't know, getting too exact there. You might spend another 5% of your time in this section, but it's where all of the properties for things are in Blender. So for example, you've got like the render properties, like the size of the image that you're saving something as is defined there. And some of these properties will stay here no matter what is selected, but others are selection dependent. So you can see actually if I click the camera there, you can see I get a little camera tab at the bottom there. But if I select my monkey, you'll see the camera tab disappears, but instead I have some other ones that appear. So one that we might want to change is underneath material, and this will enable us to add a material, change the color to something else, essentially. So
Now to the right. Change color. Let's get that ready. Suzanne. Oops. How do I unselect you? Okay. Material.
underneath here where it's got new, I'm just going to hit new. And then you've got a bunch of options, very confusing. Ooh, IOR, subsurface. Again,
New. Ah, slow there's so much choices, IQR, whatever else he says.
Don't worry about it. We'll get to all of that later on. The one that defines the color is the base color. So if I do a single left click on that white box there, I can then change this color.
I'm pretty sure this will be obvious, but I'm not the brightest, so. Let me choose a random color. Tic-tac-toe. Give me a high, give me a low, give me a 3 in a row. Shelly got shot by UFO. What's this color?
To whatever I want. I could make it an odd, creepy, skin-toned monkey head, right? Like that. And do a...
Like pretty much a normal monkey. I guess they would have peach skin, not dark brown. Do some have? They have dark brown fur, but I guess some of them do have dark brown skin.
Random. Okay, so hey, all right, it's better, but still it's too simple. I think people will think we haven't put enough effort into this masterpiece.
Can't forget the pretty picture. FN F12. Yeah, people laugh at me if I post this.
So let's add another object. Let's give the monkey a hat. So if we want to add another object, how do we do it? Well, we could go to the add menu, like I mentioned before, or the hotkey Shift A. So what sort of hat do we want to add? We could do a boxy hat. Let's do a party hat with a cone. So once we...
Okay. Shift A. Press Shift N there. A party hat.
We've added that object. You can see it's just plopped it straight in the center, intersecting our monkey. So we need to move it. We can move it and we could grab it with the G key. So it's now moving it just on our cursor there. I don't want to move it just freehand though, because I like the position, but I just want to move it up. So I'm going to hit Z to move it along the Z.
As you guys can see, it intersected. Okay, this was always a tricky part for me. Oh, whatever. As you guys can see, it intersected our monkey. We don't want that. We're gonna select it and grab. Right click. Let's cancel that. I'm just gonna select Susan. No, we want the cone. Okay, G and grab. But I like the position it is in. Just move it back. Yeah, let's just move it a bit up. Yeah. I like the position that it is in. And since I like it, I just want to move one axis, which is the X. No, it's the Y axis. Oops. One more time. I like the position that it is in, so I'm just gonna move the Y axis. left click. It's probably going to be way behind. Knew it. I always had a problem with this. Well, I had a problem with this last time. Not always. I've only used Blender like twice, including this time. G. Okay, left click. Wow, this is gonna be a bother. G. Left. Ooh. G. I don't want to mess this up. A bit closer. Alright. But left click. Never mind. G. Oops. Don't move it and instead press X. No, that's wrong too. I meant instead press Y. And then left click. And it's going to be way off again, isn't it? Oh no. This is pretty good.
Axes. Right, I like it there. So once I like the placement, I'm just going to do a single left click. Okay, great. But too big. See, need to learn another tool, which is scale. So we could go to the scale tool there, and then we get this familiar little axes there. But again, most people prefer to remember the hotkey, which for scale is just S. So S.
Which I'm gonna guess. Guess we finally reached where we were the last video. Decrease size or thereabouts. It was 16, so not quite yet.
To scale. So resizing that. Okay, that's pretty good.
Okay, S to scale. I'm gonna go for a big hat. Left click. Looking good.
Let's move it down again. So G and Z. Okay. All right. But yeah, let's say we want to make it a little taller.
I'm not going to faffle that again, even though I know I'll have to in the future.
Okay, so we could scale it along just the Z axis. So S and then Z. Whoops. S, Z. There we go. And it's now making it a tall.
Oh. S, Z. Scale along was it? Y axis. Okay. S. Alright. Need to select S. Z. Oh. Left click.
Party hat. Scale it down. There we go. Ha! Look at that. You're very.
You know what? I want it taller. S. Oh, keep forgetting to select SZ. Tall. Left click. Okay, now I'm gonna try and not mess this up. Middle mouse down, press and drag. Okay, select item. Then So should I grab? No, I'm not going to press G for grab. Select item. Let's just go up with Y. Yeah, right, G and Y. Oops, I meant X. No. Wait, was Y correct? I'm gonna do it from this view. G. Oops, no, do not move it. Y. No. Z. Alright. That's up and down. Left click. Middle mouse press and drag. That's good enough.
Bland party if it's grey though, so let's give it another material. An exciting color, a vibrant aqua.
I'm gonna be random again. New. And we wait. Base color. Okay. Close my eyes and tick tack toe. Give me a high, give me a low, give me a 3 in a row. Charlie got shot by UFO. Which ending right wrong? Charlie got shot by a UFO. Not Charlie got shot by UFO. Oh well. Okay, it's this. Harsh blue. Over here it shows us purple. Middle mouse. Click, drag. Oh, I was gonna say no matter where I look I can't see the purple. But if I go up, I guess I could see the purple a little bit. But I mostly see the blue.
Color, why not? Give that a render by hitting F12. Okay.
Render, FN, F12. Huh, did I change my camera angle? Well, I did accidentally select it a few times. Or maybe I moved my monkey. Middle mouse, click, drag. Let's select my camera. N. Tick, lock camera to view. N. That's weird. Just camera. N. Does it take a while? No, it doesn't look like it does. Wonder what happened. And okay, let's move this around. Just go for a G. Left click. Middle click key. Drag. Right click. camera. Now FN, F12. Better.
Camera is in the wrong position, so let's go to camera view mode with number pad 0. I'm going to select my camera, and rather than dabbling with that little thing I had before, I'm going to hit G and then middle mouse, just tap it once. As I said, it's a little awkward, Blender's the way it handles with the camera, but anyway, just move that out, and then I got to rotate it. All right, so I'm going to
Yeah, let me try moving it out.
rotate. So with the camera selected, tap R, then middle mouse, and it's now kind of like freehand rotating around. So I'll just move it up slightly.
G. Oop, no. G. R to rotate. That's what he said.
Move that out, and then I got to rotate it. All right, so I'm going to rotate. So with the camera selected, tap R, then middle mouse, and it's now kind of like freehand rotating around.
No, camera. Camera. Tap R to rotate. We'll just do this. Yeah, that's better. Then tap R to rotate. Ooh. Left click, middle mouse click, drag, then scroll in, middle mouse click, drag, R, rotate. Okay, left click. Now let's get out of here. So I do hope I got out of there in a good manner. FN, F12. Okay, not too bad, not too shabby. Let us continue.
So I'll just move it up slightly. There we go. Okay, this is just a fool around session, so don't worry if you're making mistakes. We'll get to actual practical building stuff in the next part. I'm just trying to find ways to throw in these like fundamental tools. Rotate, right? The monkey's head is just, he needs to look dead on at the camera, and currently he's off. What an excuse to use the rotate tool. So you could enable the rotate tool, right? The familiar axes there.
So was the one I did, if that was for the camera. Rotate. Right, let's click on the camera. Left click. Oh, cursor. Okay. FN, F12. Okay, coming along good so far.
You could click and rotate it around like that. Again, most people prefer to remember the hotkey, which is R to rotate, right? So it's now just freehand rotating on my cursor. Remember the axes, as I mentioned before, can be used for any mode. So
So that is correct. Like
The x-axis, we'll rotate it back and forth. The y-axis, tilt it, or Z, there we go, to turn it towards the camera. Just a little bit, right? And there you go, F12. And we've done it. Let's save it. Let's up. I mentioned before, can be used for any mode. So the x-axis, we'll rotate it back and forth. The y-axis, tilt it, or Z. Remember the axes, as I mentioned before, can be used for any mode. So the x-axis, we'll rotate it back and forth. The y-axis, tilt it, or
render Z axis.
or Z, there we go, to turn it towards the camera. Just a little bit.
That's wrong. Turn it towards camera.
Right, and there you go, F12. And we've done it. Let's save it. Let's upload it to ArtStation and then just wait for the recruiters, essentially. All right, let's start a new scene so that we can get ready for part 2, where we're going to actually start building our donut and learning some of the more core features of Blender. So click here and I will see you in part 2.
Okie dokie. Thank you for watching this video. I'm going to save this after, so I wouldn't have to go through the troubles of blurring my files. Thank you for watching my channel. Please visit again. Please say what you want to see more of. Thank you and goodbye.